I was a big wild child. I was a worrisome wild child.
In celebration of the 4th edition of the Filmfare OTT Awards, I'm in conversation with the delightful, charming, and wonderful Alaya F. She's dominated both the OTT space and the Bollywood screens. It's been indeed a pleasure to chat with her. I'll begin with my favorite question. What would a 25-year-old Alaya tell a 18-year-old Alaya?
An 18-year-old Alaya was still in a lot of chaos, was still very far away from being the person that she is today, but she was all heart. So I think 25-year-old Alaya will tell 18-year-old Alaya that everything will be okay. I think a lot of people say this because I think especially, when you're younger, you're always in the state of complete and utter chaos and you think every moment is just so important. You think every moment in your life is so make or break, whether it's a relationship, whether it's getting into a particular university, getting a certain film or whatever it is. It all feels so life or death at that time. So I'll tell her that it'll always turn out okay and to just stay true to who I am, which I really was doing at that age especially. And I think 18-year-old Alaya will also say something back to 25-year-old Alaya, which is to not be as afraid, to still be bold. I feel like 18-year-old me was a lot more feisty than 25-year-old me.
So why do you miss that? Like, what has changed? Why are you less fire? Why are you fearful?
Sometimes when you're too fiery, then to bring yourself to a state of balance, you have to be too good to get yourself to a state of balance. Now, both are very authentically me. This very good me is also very much me. And that crazy fiery will say whatever, will call it, will like pick a fight at the drop of a hat was also very me. You know how on your phone you have a notes app? And I've always had this habit of writing silly things in my notes. So recently I went all the way down to 2015 and I started reading my notes from back then. And I was seeing the transition of that person from being that person to being this person. Somewhere in the middle was a person I really liked, where there was a great balance between being all of that, but also being this. So I kind of missed that. I feel like I played it too safe because the stakes got too high. I feel like now the stakes are really high. One thing I say in an interview now can, change everything.
So how do you stay authentic?
See, I am an authentic person. I don't think there is any effort to be authentic. I think there's an effort for me if I ever have to be fake. Very recently, I've been having realizations about how not authentic some of your conversations are a lot of the time. Either if I'm upset at someone, you'll see it on my face that I'm upset at you. And if I like you, I'll genuinely like you. There's actually no in between about this. So, and if I'd rather be quiet than be fake. So being authentic has never been the struggle. But what is authentic to me keeps changing.
I know your grandfather. I
Yes.
have read the wonderful autobiography of your grandmother. I know your mum.
Yes.
And they're all rebels with the cause.
Fully.
So how come you're so different?
My family has always been the sort that's encouraged everyone to be the person that they are. My family doesn't impose opinions. We encourage conversations. We encourage arguments in a lot of ways. We encourage debates. So I feel like very organically I've figured out who I am, and I've sort of through my own unique experiences, studying abroad, having being a certain way in my teenage years, handling my career by myself, which I really do. People don't believe this, but I make all my decisions by myself. My family is absolutely not involved, and they'll happily agree to that fact. But so that's how I sort of was myself, and then I think that fieriness and the rebellious nature of my entire family, of course I have that in me. I have that in me, and that's what I'm sort of trying to allow myself to be more of now. I feel like I stopped allowing myself to be that way.
So how did university shape your personality?
Ooh,
Because you were also doing drama school at the same time and all of that.
University was one of the most transformative years of my life. Those 3 years that I was in New York changed my entire life. I remember there was a friend of mine that had visited New York maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I was to come back to Bombay. And he came over and a bunch of my friends were there, and I was like, I'll make you meet my friends. It's going to be such a fun evening. And he came and he sat down. My friends are really warm people. They were in New York, and they were trying to make conversation with him, but he was only preoccupied with talking to me about how Bombay was. He was like, dude, Al, you know, in Bombay, this is happening. This person's doing this person, whatever. I was like, yeah, we'll talk about it later. I was like, now we'll, chill, we'll talk about this. I'm coming back anyway in a few weeks. And he was like, no, dude, but you don't know. It's like, and he was going on and on about it. And my friends are trying to make conversation with him, but he is unable to make conversation about something that doesn't involve this Bombay circle or this Bombay life. And I remember thinking, my God, it's a bubble. And I used to be in this bubble. And now I'm not in this bubble. So when I go back, I have a very active choice to make. Do I want to go back to this, or do I want to be this person and now make my own life in my own new bubble? And then decide how much of that I want in my life. But I remember that moment very, very clearly, and that shaped my life. Because I remember realizing how much I had changed and deciding that I liked being my own person and not just being an extension of the Bombay circle that, I sort of knew all my life.
Bollywood is a bubble.
Yeah.
And there's certain things you have to do, there are certain things you don't have. How do you boogie out of that? Like, how do you, your authentic self?
I'm going to get a little controversial here, I guess, now for a second, but when we talk about things like nepotism and all of this, of course, I come from privilege. I acknowledge that. I know that. I'm very aware of that. There's not a day that I'm not aware of the fact that, there is a certain privilege that gives you access, and that access is huge. But there are many different, not all nepotism is the same either. There are so many layers and levels to it. I don't have someone that's calling the shots for me. I don't have someone that's going to guaranteed give me another big movie, even if, I do an awful job in one. And then you see so many people that have sort of really grown up, in this world. And you see them have a certain ease at a party because they've grown up around all the people that are there. They know everyone so deeply. Their parents are at the parties, which is wonderful. I wish my parents were also there, There's a certain ease that comes to it. There's a certain fear that's not there. And I still feel like I hold that fear very strongly with me. I'm not free of that fear. It's such a fight to get movies that I want, that I really feel like, are these the ones I want? It's a fight to get meetings that I want sometimes. It's a journey. And sometimes you feel like, well, why is this happening to me? Why do I need to fight so much harder sometimes? Why do I need to consistently keep proving myself even when I feel like I have proved myself in so many ways? So that's a little weird sometimes. So to still constantly remind yourself that you are good at what you do and you are here to do something and you just have to persist with it. I think that's the hardest bit for me.
You worked with seasoned actors like Tabu and Saif Ali Khan, and also you worked with the young a lot like Kartik Aaryan. Do you get intimidated by your co-stars? What is the equation?
I feel like there's a certain intimidation on a first day of set, no matter who your co-star is. Because it's just scary. It's a new crew. You feel like you have to prove yourself all over again. Everyone's sort of expecting something out of you and you hope you'll deliver. So on the first day, I'm afraid of everything. I'm nervous about everything. After the first day, first shot, all the fear goes away and I remember why I love what I do. Then, whether it's someone like a Saif sir or a Tabu ma'am or a Kartik or someone completely new like a Karan, after that, it's just all love. After that, all the fear goes away, everything goes away. I've also been really blessed to work with people that don't assert their authority or seniority. It was just a great time. I never felt like, no one made me feel like a junior or someone that didn't know what they were doing. In fact, they treated me as someone that they were like, oh my God, this girl really does know what she's doing, which made me feel good. So I think they always made me feel, in fact, better than I was feeling. I've been very lucky with the people I've worked with. I've been very, very lucky with them. I've only had good experiences.
How much are you like your parents? I mean, what do you absorb from your? I mean, you're very boring. You're not anything like your grandmother or grandfather.
Yeah. That's
which
I'm not.
I say with a lot of unhappiness and sadness. But
give me a few years, maybe something will come bursting out.
But is there a wild child in you like it was in Pratima or Pooja?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. I've really tamed my wild child. I was a big wild child. I was a worrisome wild child. So I'm a lot like both my parents, and I'm a lot like none of them. I think I'm actually 50% my father, 50% my mother. I'm my mother in the way that there's a lot of heart. Everything that happens from the heart only. I talk a lot like her with my hand gestures and the way I, frame my sentences sometimes and all of that. That way I'm like my mother. I'm like my father in the sense that I'm a lot more practical. I'm a lot more, I feel like my core values in a lot of ways I have picked up from my father more than my mother. But no, actually, it's a proper mix. It's a proper mix. And then 50%, I don't know whose child it is, but I've just made my own personality 50%.
That's lovely. So tell me, you're living on your own now. You know, have you been living for about 2 years now? No.
3 almost,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. So what have you discovered? I mean,
It was so easy for me. I transitioned into living alone so quickly and so naturally. Uh, Again, because I've always just been a very independent person. You know,
which New York changed everything.
living alone didn't actually change that much for me. It, in fact, perhaps got more peaceful because I didn't have to keep saying I need space. I just had my space. And now it's wonderful because now my family comes over to my home, you know, and I get to host everyone and I get to, you know, be that person. And I still see my family just as much. My mother's in town. She, on her way from the airport, she'll stop at my home, you know, like she'll be there for as long.
So you have to
Same.
bother with the dhobi bills, the
Oh my God, the
grocery.
hisab and all of that. The hisab is the most irritating because, you know, you want to be on top of it. You want to like read it. You want to calculate it properly. You don't want to say, haan, theek hai. You know, especially because I'm a young girl, you know, you don't want people to take advantage of and think you're naive and all of that. So I'm very aware of that.
You know, you talked about hisab and all. Interestingly, your grandmother and grandfather were one of the first few live-in couples in Bombay. They were the flat children, okay? And then your mother had this completely bohemian lifestyle. What is it that you learned about love and relationships?
I don't know if I don't think I picked this up from anyone in my family per se, but I think just generally for me, love is something that's grounding and stabilizing, not something that, you know, makes me jump all over the place and, you know, adds chaos to my day. So my idea of love is something that brings me, because I'm a chaotic person. I'm always trying to get something done. I'm always like running from one place to another. I'm an overthinker. I'm always stressing about everything. You know, that's who I am. I like it. I don't even mind it. You know, stuff gets done. It means I care about things. You know, I'm passionate about what I do. It's okay. I don't want to be chilled out also. But in my personal life then, when I see someone at the end of a day, or when I call up someone in the middle of my hectic day, I need that calm and peace. I don't need more hecticness. So for me, love is something that brings me grounding, stability, and peace. And I hope I can also be that for.
And what are the things you like about yourself and would like to change about yourself?
I like the fact that I'm inherently actually a very kind person. I don't think I ever mean badly or intend badly for anyone. Even if I really, really don't like them and I'm like, I hope this happens to this person, the next 2 minutes I'll be like, no, actually that's not, you shouldn't wish bad things on people. I hope their life is also good, you know? So inherently, I really do think I'm a nice person and I like that. And I don't want to lose that no matter what. What I don't like, overthinking. See, I don't mind my overthinking in a lot of ways,
See,
but
I
in
told
some
you
ways
right
I think
at
it's
the beginning
destructive.
before we started the interview, you're overthinking.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good because it makes me really reflect on a lot of things. Sometimes it's not good because I just sort of, I create these situations in my head. I really think that, you know, the world is ending. And then something happens and I realize that all that was for nothing. You know, I'm like, why was I stressing about it? So actually, very recently, post this Diwali season, I have adopted a very new mentality. I don't know if I can say this on camera. Can I say? Yeah. So I've adopted a new mentality, which is, you know, so anytime an intrusive thought comes into my head, a very intrusive thought, you know, where I feel it coming in and my heart goes, I go, I literally do this with my hand also with it. I'm like, go away, go away. And I started swatting it away. So it's my new thing where I'm not letting the thought even come into my head so it can't even simmer. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm trying it out. It's a very new thing that I'm trying. Let's see how it goes.
You know, also the conversations have now been around mental health and normalizing it. Have you been to therapy? Have you, how do you cope with, you know, it's a very stressful life. I mean, it looks very glamorous from the outside, but all of us being in the business, we know how much anxiety it induces. So what is your take on that?
I remember right after I'd finished shooting U-Turn and Freddy, and I was so exhausted. I can't even begin to tell you how exhausted I was during that period. There was a time where for many, many, many months, I hadn't had a single day free. And by a single day, I mean like I was also working supremely long hours and I was completely and utterly drained. And when you get to that point, like really get to that point, you know, I'm also not someone that's going to give 10% if I'm tired. I'm still going to give you my 110%. I remember there was a day I was on a brand shoot where I did not have it in me. Like, I was so tired and so just low. I felt like I was shaking. Like, I felt like my body was vibrating. Like, I felt like I wasn't, everything just felt surreal. And I remember I got my hair makeup done. I was still in a daze. I went onto the set. We did the first shot. And I remember I really wasn't happy with what I had done. It was a brand shoot, but a really nice brand shoot. A brand that I love working with, you know, a brand that that really loves me and believes in me. You know, one of those good environments. And I remember coming back to my van. I remember saying, I need to go back to my van for a second. I need to go to the bathroom. And I remember going to the bathroom and just going in front of the mirror. And I just remember holding the sink. And I remember looking at myself eye to eye saying, just push through today. Hold it in. We'll push through today. And no matter what, I will give you an off day tomorrow. And I had this deal with myself. I said, just push through today. There are people out there that love you, that believe in you, that you really want to deliver for. So let's pull out whatever little leftover energy is there and let's go out and do it. And I went out there and I had perhaps the best brand shoot of my life. And the next day, I remember when I came out of the bathroom, I looked at my manager and I said, tomorrow, no matter what, I said, just figure it out. Just clear my day. I said, I can't. I said, like, I'm going to explode. I feel like I'm going to explode. I feel like I'm up to here. And right after that period was over and I got a little free, I immediately went into therapy. I'd been in therapy earlier as well, and I remember going straight back to therapy and then processing all these emotions that I had felt because I lost a lot of love for my job. I didn't have love. I didn't have joy when I had to go to a set. If I had to go to a set, I was like, oh, no, I have to go to a set tomorrow. And that's not fun. I love my job. I love being an actor. So that was a real struggle I had in my mental health where I really lost a lot of joy, and that scared me. And so I think it's really, really important to be in tune with your mind and your body and all of that. You know, this wasn't the first mental health struggle I've had. It's not even the worst, but it is the most recent, which is why it's come to mind. There have been mental health struggles that have been far worse, you know, especially when I was younger in my crazy teenage days and all of that. But it's all a journey.
So I really hope you keep it together and
Yeah.
continue to wow us with wonderfully delicious performance.
Thank
and
you.
stay that authentic person that you are.
Thank you.
You so much.
Thank
Lots
you.
of love.
Lots of love.
And there you have it, a delightful journey into the life and times of Alaya F. Candid as always, she gives us wonderful glimpses into her real life. And while you're at it, stay tuned for the 4th edition of the Filmfare OTT Awards.